Hi.
My name is Myrtle. Well, actually it's Hadassah, but you would probably use the translation for Hadassah, which is Myrtle. I don't understand why the name Myrtle isn't popular in your time. And did you know Hadassah was Esther's Hebrew name? You know Esther and the book of Esther?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you don't call it the book of Myrtle. Unfortunately, my husband couldn't be here today. You probably couldn't pronounce his name anyway, and it doesn't have an English translation. So we'll just call him Richard. I figured Richard is still a popular name because I know one of the nicknames for Richard is Dick. And I see people calling people that name all over your social media. So I assume Richard must still be a popular name. But you know, he isn't the one you really want to talk to about that day. That day on which the baby was born. You want to be talking to me. Now, you've probably heard the story about Jesus' birth umpteen times. The one read today is a version from the book of Luke, not the version that's in the book of Matthew. Oh, you didn't know there were two Christmas stories. Look it up. The Christmas story that talks about an inn, a manger, and a bunch of smelly shepherds is in Luke. The version about the wise guys coming with gifts to a house in Bethlehem, notice it says a house, is in the book according to Matthew. You see, I didn't get to meet kings or magi's or whatever you call them coming to a house. I experienced the smellier version in Luke because I played a role in that version, though I am never mentioned. In fact, it's assumed I'm a man, an innkeeper. And this innkeeper gets featured a lot in sermons and children's Christmas plays, and it's usually portrayed as grumpy and rude. But if you listen to the scripture we heard today, there is no speaking part for an innkeeper. In fact, an innkeeper is never mentioned at all. And many translations say there was no room for them in the inn, so the innkeeper is an assumption. I actually heard you heard a story last Sunday about a talking ass. It is assumed that with an inn, there is an innkeeper, and that he is a male, and that he rudely told the poor man and very pregnant young woman to go sleep in a barn with a bunch of smelly animals. Well, that certainly is a lot of assumption. So just to make sure you don't forget who I am, because your mind wanders during my talk, or you fall asleep, or you turn in late online, let me put a reminder of who you think I am, and then I will talk about who I actually may have been. So here you go. I am Myrtle, the innkeeper. And I would like to thank your queen of hospitality, Norma, for doing the song. And Norma is not a biblical name, but it should be, so don't look it up. You'll notice innkeeper is in quotes. Some scholars argue that the inn should be translated as guest room, as we heard in the translation this morning, read by someone with a beautiful biblical name, like me. Look it up.
Yep.
There was no room in the guest room, which means that the tradition of having out-of-town guests at Christmas time started on the first Christmas. And yes, I was probably the one who had to find rooms for everyone. So it wasn't a grumpy old dude who was an innkeeper, but it was probably a frantic and overwhelmed woman such as myself trying to find room for everyone in my husband's clan who now had to come into town from all over the country to register. And people grumble about registering to vote these days. Hey, look! Caesar, I guess, and said, let's count everybody. Why? Because I want to tax everybody. Well, you don't have to deal with tyrants like that anymore. So, how would you feel about having this full house of guests, and who shows up on your doorstep with some distant relative of your husband's? Oh, and look, he brought his pregnant wife. All the way from Galilee on a donkey. A pregnant woman riding on a donkey. I have to say, I admire her bladder control. So, now what are you going to do if you're in this situation? Well, you offer anything that you have, because hospitality is so very important. And it's not important as it's important to have coffee and cookies after church for those of you who need your caffeine and sugar. No, it's important as in if you have to find a place for people who come to your door, because if you do not provide for them, they will die if left out in the harsh environment. And if you or someone you love is traveling, and those that you or they come across do not provide hospitality, then you or your loved ones will likely die. This is a life or death give and take. It's not a nice gesture. It is a survival technique for you and all those in the society in which you live. So I offered all that I had left. The stable. At least it was warm with all the animals. A bit smelly, but warm. And she seemed to take it in stride. She looked so worn, though. She probably just wanted somewhere to lie down. And probably find somewhere to pee. Those of us who are pregnant know what I mean. She looked so ragged. My heart went out to her. But let's talk about hospitality for a minute. Did you know that the Latin word hospes, H-O-S-P-E-S, is the root word for hospitality, as well as hospital and hospice? Not necessarily places and things you would associate with hospitality, eh? But doesn't some of our most appreciated hospitality we receive come when we are sick or experiencing the death of someone we love? What could be more hospitable than to assist at times like that? Also, there's a lot of talk about hospitality in the Bible. One of the most important stories in my tradition about hospitality is the story about Father Abraham giving hospitality to two strangers. The same Abraham who was beloved in three religious traditions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And this important man is seen as giving the best he had available to these men. And they turned out angels. Well, let me tell you, that poor tired couple that came to my door didn't look like angels. But I followed the example of my father Abraham, and I took them in. I took them in as best as I could. They were my clan. Though back in my time, we considered clan a lot bigger than you do in your dispersed world today. I couldn't imagine the travel that many of you do and how far away you are from family. But then I understand many of you have not been accepted by your clan. Well, I'm afraid that happened in my day as well. In fact, it was worse. We were told we could stone them. But we didn't know any better then. I don't understand why people don't understand that now. I mean, our idea of sex education was that the woman was just an incubator, and the man had little people in his, we'll call it his contribution to making babies. So we didn't really understand what made babies, much less what made people different. Must be some pretty hardcore ignorance to keep believing like we did in the face of scientific evidence today. Science must have some merit. It's the only place that beautiful language Latin is kept alive. It must have some merit. Now, what's so important about this Abraham story is the rest of the story is really about hospitality as well. You see, Abraham finds that these angels are going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because it is inhospitable to strangers. And when I say inhospitable, I don't mean just being snippy. When the angels arrive, Lot puts them up because he believes, as his relative Abraham does, in the importance of hospitality. Oh, and when the townspeople heard about these strangers in their town, did they come with punch and cookies? No. They told Lot to bring them out so they could rape them. Rape them. Shortly after, the towns are destroyed. And this story is held up as an example of how inhospitality is wrong? No, it's held up as condemning same-gender sexual acts. Go figure. Where are people's heads in this world? Now, getting back to the story in the Bible that I'm in, or rather, assumed to be in, I do have to say when those smelly shepherds came, it was really hard for me to be hospitable. And they kept blabbering about seeing angels. Let me tell you, even the animals took a whiff of them and stepped to the back of the stairs. You know, being out in the fields all day watching sheep does not lend itself to great hygiene. I imagine you don't have to deal with being hospitable to people who smell and talk about seeing angelic beings in this day and age. But let me tell you, it was hard. I get to be in the Christmas story with the smelly shepherds. How come I couldn't be in the one with the wise guys from the East? You know, the one that talks about the family being in a house, not a stable. The more hygienic story. So, did you know that Jesus' birth stories are only found in the books of Matthew and Luke? Oh, I probably told you that already. When you're about 2,000 years old, you have a lot of senior moments. You know? Well, the Gospel of Mark jumps right in with the baptism and temptation of Christ. Gets right into the ministry of Jesus without talking about his birth. Probably written by a real overachiever. The book of John, well, it starts off a little different. Hard to describe. You need to read it for yourself. Some say Luke was written by a woman because it includes more women in the story. More women, not to be confused with a lot of women. But if it was written by a woman, how come it doesn't mention how long Mary was in labor? What do you think? Jesus just popped out without her going through labor? Remember, Jesus was fully human, and let me tell you, human birth is very, very messy. For those of you who actually haven't birthed kids or participated in a birthing experience, remember, you may not remember the mess at your own birth, but someone had to clean it up afterwards. So what does this tell us about hospitality? If I did not at least make the stable available, would this baby have survived? This baby that grew into a man who saved many lives with his words of compassion and forgiveness, and whose words still save people from a life of hatred and hardness. The hospitality you show another may actually save lives, including your own.
That's right.
What can hospitality look like today? How can you be hospitable in a world where an 8-year-old dies in an immigration detention camp on Christmas morning? Donate if you can. Protest if you can. But even more than that, make your corner in this world radiate hospitality to all. Be hospitable. Tell them how you know God doesn't condemn them for what God created them to be. That can save a life. Try not to judge that smelly shepherd who sees angels. Connect with them if you feel safe, even with just a smile, even just seeing them as another human being and not something other than human. It could save their life. It could save your life. Just being present with others, it could save their life, it could save your life. And just like Father Abraham, you could be entertaining angels unaware. Now, I know some of you might not like to pull out that Bible because it sounds so foreign. And it is. It was written throughout many years and throughout many changes in the way God was perceived. But it's not meant to be thumped on people's head, as many of you have experienced. The stories are meant to be explored and challenged and dissected and sometimes argued against. But as with everything, it's a tool for you to get to know God more. The God of hospitality. The God that values hospitality. Do you value hospitality? Not only to others, but to yourself? Let's get back to that beautiful language, Latin. I still can't believe you let Latin die. But then, I suppose it lives in so many roots of your English words, it's never died, just lay dormant. Just as God's hospitality may be lying dormant in you. The Latin word hospice, H-O-S-P-E-S, means host and guest. Let me let that sink in a little. The Latin root word for hospitality means host and guest. So when you are being hospitable to another, you are also being hospitable to yourself. And you need to be hospitable to yourself. In fact, you are God's creation, and you need to be hospitable to all of God's creation. Now, I'm not saying that so you can go and put a guilt trip on yourself and put on your to-do list. I need to be more hospitable to myself. Some of you are really good about packing a lot for those guilt trips. And I'm not saying that as a compliment. So in order to allow God to work in you by being the host of the Holy Spirit for others, you have to provide a place where the Holy Spirit, where she feels welcome and loved and whole. And to do that, you need to clean out your house as a host. Mm-hmm. Now, I had a friend who used to say, Myrtle, I figure guests are coming to see me, not my house. And that's true, to a certain extent. But if you are having overnight visitors, you need to at least clean out the guest room. Mm-hmm. So in order to be a good host to the Holy Spirit in your heart and life, you need to look at that old stuff. Maybe you haven't pulled it out for a while, but it's still there. Those past hurts, those grudges, that really suppressed anger. Mm-hmm. Now first, acknowledge it is there. Acknowledge it may have played a helpful part in your life at one time, but look deeply to see if it is helping you or hurting you now. Maybe the old ways of relating to people that you have learned when you were growing up helped you then, but don't serve you well now. In fact, they may be hurting you now. Mm-hmm. The hard walls that surround you. Or maybe the opposite. The oh so tender skin that is sure everything is a slight and it's all about me. That everyone honks their horn on the road is honking at me. I feel that way sometimes. And when you are being hospitable by throwing the stuff out to make room for the Holy Spirit in your life, you'll find out something else. Your life and your heart are cleaner and freer and more enjoyable, and you'll find that you are enjoying being in your own life like an honored guest. Mm-hmm. And you'll find now that instead of being the host of your own life, you have become the guest of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And she's doing a much better job of keeping it clean. Clean so that you can in turn be more hospitable to others, who in turn will be more hospitable to others, who in turn will be more hospitable to others, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So what can you do about how inhospitable this world has become? You be hospitable. Fight the trend. And don't assume someone who ends up in a stable to have a baby was sent there by an inhospitable, grumpy innkeeper. Perhaps it was someone who gave up the last they had. And let's face it, the manger and the stable make a better visual. When they lump together the stories from Matthew and Luke in the nativity sets, they don't put it in the house mentioned in the Matthew story. They put it in my smelly stable. So be hospitable as if life depends on it. Because they do. As you reach out to others, you never know who may be knocking on your door. Perhaps it won't be a pregnant lady who has a child that people will talk about for centuries. Perhaps it will just be a small encounter to you, a smile given, a short time of concentrated listening, an acknowledgement that someone exists and is a child of God, and perhaps you may find the life that you saved is your own. Perhaps in these encounters you may also realize that you are not the host, you are not the giver as you thought, but you are actually the guest. The guest of life who accepts the hospitality of God, of Christ, and of the Holy Spirit. So, Merry Christmas. It ain't over yet. Don't let the hospitality we often have at Christmas time get dragged out with the Christmas tree. You be hospitable. Give from the heart, even if you think it's very small. A smile, a wanted hug, an ear. Make it 2 ears. Your attention, your heart. Give even if you think, I only have a stable. Because that stable could create the best story ever. Amen. Amen.
The splendor of our God, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. For God wraps herself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at God's voice, and trembles at